The life plan process, I felt, was the best combination of different um, elements into a comprehensive program that would not only take care of my investment, my future, my retirement, but with the other programs that are available would get into helping take care of my, for example, my parents' situation.
I met David, we talked, and I balked occasionally. But anyway, he kind of opened our eyes a little bit in that there's estate planning and a few other items in that there's more to it than meets the eye. So looking a little more into it with David's guidance and we decided we'd try it and see what come out of it. Unfortunately, I had a few health problems that dropped me out of the study program, but David has been very helpful as far as advice and so on and so forth since then.
David Disraeli has built a level of trust with me that had to be there before I would let him go and work with my parents. I was very confident at that point that he could properly analyze the situation for my parents, and it was very low key. It was just sitting down with a blank piece of paper and looking at and identifying the different pieces of my parents' estate, how these would all fit together. And for example, if something happened the following day, how would all these things play out?
I always played the ostrich. I was burying my head in the sand, thinking I never have to deal with it, but reality set in, and I realized it has to be done. And through David, he opened our eyes, and we got all our little policies together. We might have a whole dozen of it, but nobody knew where they was and what they are. And so with David's help, we got that straightened out, and then he guided us to a very fine lawyer, and he helped us complete the project.
Mr. Van Winkle, a number of months ago, I referred a family to you,
Yes.
the Torns,
Right.
because during my interview with them, I discovered that they had old documents and, in some cases, missing documents that could have caused an enormous amount of difficulty if one of them wound up either incapacitated or in a nursing home or something like that. And as the director of this type of law for your law firm, I thought maybe it'd be helpful if you kind of described a typical scenario where a family comes in here that needs your help, and what do you find and how do you help them?
Sure, David. One of the things that we often see is procrastination. And that's a huge issue because as we all get older, we don't like to think about it. And our children don't want to bring it up to us as well.
Right.
So sometimes, or many times, someone that's in your position is about the only person who appears to be objective in the process. And so your role is so powerful in the sense that you have the objectivity of looking at the plan and seeing that there are needs. Typically when a family comes in with an elder parent or parents, they will come in with maybe someone like yourself, or it may be initiated by one or two of the children. And so what we do is that we take a snapshot of where they are with their finances, and we take a snapshot with where they are with their documents.
Gave me a lot of peace of mind, again, that we identified these shortcomings beforehand. We were able to take action beforehand and have everything in place and not have to react when the time comes. It's already taken care of up front. Addressing these issues now in a non-emotional time frame, that definitely gives a great sense of security and a peace of mind, not just to myself but to other family members as well.
Here's what you're looking at when it comes to long-term care, which is the major issue. how is mom or dad going to be able to make it when they can't take care of themselves? They can't work anymore.
Right.
They can't take care of themselves.
Can you explain the consequences of either not having the correct power of attorney or having one that fails?
Sure.
What happens to, give us a scenario of what can happen when somebody's declared to be incapacitated or incompetent?
Well, let me start at this point, David, because that's why the timing of when they come to see an attorney is so important. Sometimes I will get people in and they still have the ability to understand what they're doing. They have the ability to make legal decisions.
Right.
So often, because of the procrastination, they don't come in until there's crisis, which means that mom or dad typically is questionable whether or not they can make legal decisions. So we want, for their benefit, for them to come in as soon as they can, as soon as possible, so that we can, for example, do a power of attorney that allows some things that a standard power of attorney would not allow. There are some people that get powers of attorney off the internet, or they may have an old power of attorney that they were able to receive from some years ago estate planning. Well, when we're talking about long-term care or nursing home or Medicaid, that sort of thing, in the preparation of it, we may be talking about transfers that under a normal power of attorney could not take place, because typically the person that has that power of attorney, that is the fiduciary, does not have the authority. It's illegal to be transferring property to themselves. Maybe a little bit under a gift exclusion clause under the tax code, but even then, it's not enough to make a difference when we plan ahead.
What can somebody do once it's too late and they need to sell a house or close a checking account and either their power of attorney is not honored or it's just not effective? What can you do? Do you have to go to court?
David, a lot of times we can't do anything. Now, I will say this, that when it's past the time of capacity, what we may be left with is going to court for guardianship. And in one sense, there's two broad categories of guardianships. One is guardianship of the person. They can't take care of themselves. They can't make medical decisions. The other is guardianship of the estate, and that's for the financial. But all of that could be avoided if they had come in earlier when they had the ability to make those decisions. What are the problems with guardianships? For one, they're very expensive. For another is there's always the question, and the court is very jealous of their personal rights. Do they really have incapacity? So an ad litem has to be appointed for them. And then the question comes up, and this is not uncommon, which of the children is going to represent mom or dad?
Right.
And see, if they came in earlier, one of the things that we do, the probate code allows it, is what's called a declaration of guardian. So they can declare to the court in writing the hierarchy or the order in which they would like for the kids, assuming that that's who it is, would represent them. Let's take a situation, David, where a widow, she has, let's say, $100,000 and a home worth $200,000.
Okay.
That's really not too uncommon. If she gets here early enough, which means that she has capacity to understand what she's doing, typically what we're going to do is that we're going to draft up a new power of attorney so that transfers can be made to those who are, for example, the agents. She has to have the ability to understand that. If done properly, we could do a gifting of most of that $100,000, then make an application for Medicaid, assuming that she's otherwise qualified.
I would not have done it without David's help or my son encouraging us. And I know it needed to be done, but I prefer to play the bird and bury my head in the sand. But it is a certain way, especially my age, to relax. So I think, well, that step is taken care of. There's many more steps we have to take, but that's one chapter that we finished, and with the help of David, it was very painless and very pleasant. And now we just have to deal with my husband's illness.